Hey, everybody out there, Chiefs Kingdom YouTube. Today, I'm talking to one of the best creme de la creme of the Chiefs to the Chiefs sphere. All right. I got Daniel Harms today. So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh. Let's go. So what's going on, man?
Not much, man. It's just been I'm okay. I know Chiefs team is kind of tearing itself down right now. People are losing their minds, adding players and stuff like that. Like, I'm trying to stay away from all that. I just want to give everybody a little bit of context to what's going on. And then we got people left and right just going off the rails. People are really losing their minds. But no, I'm doing okay. I mean, I know.
It's like, we're a few years ago, before the Mahomes era started, we were used to being disappointed, right? Mm-hmm. And seasons like this wouldn't really, you'd be kind of like water off a duck's back, but now that we're so used to winning and so used to winning now, it's like everybody's flipping out, and we're only 3-2, man. I mean, a lot of people forget about the time when we lost 5 straight games and then won 11 straight games to make it to the playoffs. Stuff like that happens all the time. Am I right? Or
oh, you're definitely right. I think that there's a little bit, obviously, like I said, more concern considering the situation around this team. I think there was a lot of hype with the defense getting better. I know I was one of the people that thought Anthony Hitchens was going to have a good year, thought Daniel Sorensen wasn't going to play very much, and Juan Thornhill was going to play more, thought Jerron Reed was going to make a difference on this defensive line, thought Chris Jones was going to make a difference at defensive end. All these things have not happened. And when you just look at the way that the defense is played, for me, it looks like they don't want to play for Steve Spagnuolo. Like, they don't want to play. And that's been the biggest issue. Like, there's no effort. There's been 2 halves of football where they have max effort. The second half against the Browns and the second half against the Bills, where they showed up. Like, they were out there on the field. Definitely. They didn't just leave themselves in the back in the locker room. So there's some things that got to get figured out in order for them to be a threat to the Bills, to the Ravens, to the Chargers in the AFC. And that's the biggest problem.
Oh, man. You saying that, especially when you bring up Dan, I tell you what, for like at least the last 3 seasons, I was a big fan of his. I mean, he was more like, to use basketball terminology, he was more like Robert Horry. He's just a big shot guy, the guy that was just right there at the right time. He didn't really contribute a lot. Everybody knows that, but he was always there at those key moments. You know what I mean? Those really matter moments. And now he's just not there at all. You're a bigger insider than me. You probably got the insider scoop more than me. What the deal with the Juan Thornhill situation? Please tell me.
I don't have like information from this.
But I know that, but I'm saying but you're more in depth to probably figure out what's going on with the roster than I am.
Man, I don't have much outside of I personally feel from what I've been told that they're not very comfortable with his knee. But I'm telling you right now, you just watch him play. He's still more explosive than what Dan Sorensen gives you, even if he's not fully healthy. But I don't think he doesn't look healthy. His knee looks okay to me. Yeah. I mean, and I was one of the people coming out of last week saying before the Bills game that they needed to get more into dime because that was where their defense was best with the 3 safeties. Yeah. The problem is those guys went so early on the first play of the game. They get like a 1 yard gain. And Spags was like, fuck it, I'm going into dime right away. Yeah. And so Josh Allen was like, okay, I'm going to run the ball up the middle because you're bringing Dan Sorensen to play linebacker. And I'll take that every day of the week. 3rd and 3. They leave dime on the field. Why? And then Josh Allen's like, okay, I'm just going to play fake my running back to lead block for me. And I'm going to run for 25, 30 plus yards.
Yeah. Like, especially that play that you showed on Twitter. If you're not following Dan Harms on Twitter, you need to be. But that play you showed on Twitter where you just showed, I think that was the linebacker, you circled him out, and you could just see he was just out of position the entire play. Like he stopped, it's like he stopped, he hesitated, he forgot what he was doing, and then all of a sudden you saw Allen just take off.
Yeah. And I circled Frank Clark on that play for everyone that doesn't
Frank
know.
Clark.
And he was supposed to be contained on the back, obviously. But as soon as you see Josh Allen taking that ball and running up the gut, you got to go try to track it down. And if you guys follow me on Twitter, you can at In Harm's Way 19. I've been talking a lot about early in the season, defensive players for other teams have been chasing down runs from the Chiefs, from the Chiefs from behind, from pursuit, from just pure effort. They've been chasing them down. And when I watched Frank Clark just kind of like say, no, I'm good. I think that they got it. That's the problem that I have with this defense right now.
Yeah.
Everyone seems to have something in their brain say, no, I'm going to click off for a second. And no, that play's done. It's not coming to me. I'm not going to do anything about it. And then it ends up, you might be able to have an impact on the play some way, shape or form. So that's been a big issue. And, you know, I think we all kind of understand right now that everything's falling apart and you got to have some semblance of team atmosphere and continuity and leadership going forward on the defensive side to get anything figured out.
Right. And talking about the defensive side, you said something very interesting, man. You saying they don't want to play for Spags. What would you say will be the key reason why? Like, is he just not caring? Is he being Bob Sutton? Is he doing that, not adjusting?
Oh, definitely not. He's doing a lot of stuff. And from that Bills game specifically, after the first couple just baffling issues with going to dime too quickly, I saw Spags try to do different things. Like he was trying to do some different stuff, but I don't know for a fact if the players don't want to play for him. I'm just saying, when you can watch the Bills defense, who's, I'm going to say, a little bit less talented in terms of like star quality players. They went out and drafted a couple defensive ends. A rookie, you know, Greg Rousseau was all over the field for that defense. They're well coached. They do what they're asked, and they do it, and they fly to the football.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean McDermott gets that out of his defensive players. Steve Spagnuolo did not get that out of his players until the second half of the Bills game.
Right.
So for me, I don't know. There's a couple guys, you know, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark were brought in not only for their play, but for their leadership qualities.
Yeah.
And does Chris Jones being not on the field have that much impact on everyone else not doing their jobs? Like, I don't get it, because Chris Jones is an outspoken guy in terms of like leadership in terms of, you know, telling everyone where they need to be, because he's not that kind of player. But, you know, Frank Clark made his entire presence felt with that Tennessee Titans playoff game, right? We all remember quotes. We all remember the interview.
The quotes, he played pretty decent. They stopped Henry to under 100 yards rushing.
Like, that's the it doesn't make any sense when you have, maybe he's just no longer physically a player that can do anything. I'm not sure what's going on, but I know that he did get some pressure in that game. So the ability to apply effort is a 100% of the time thing. I get he could be having a hamstring injury. If you're practicing in full the week before the game, you have no excuse, in my opinion, to take plays off. You don't. And maybe that means that you rotate out a little bit more. You don't play 80+% of the snaps. Maybe Damona Harris gets in there a little bit more. Maybe you save yourself a little bit for some pass rush situations. Again, I don't know the calls being made on defense. I don't know the calls being made, you know, as it's unfolding in terms of players communicating all the way, because I don't have inside information to like what they're saying. I can't hear them. I can't break any of that down. But all I can say is that if you're being paid, and by the way, Frank Clark is the highest paid non-quarterback player in the NFL this year in terms of cap hit.
Are you serious?
He's like the 7th highest paid player in the NFL in terms of cap hit this season. If you're out there in any way, shape, or form, and you're just not third play of the game, you're just like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't get behind that, man.
I mean, when he first got here, I did kind of question it, because I'm old school. I don't like undersized linemen. That's never been my thing. I know there are some that are good. I know there's some like Chris Jones. He's a big guy, but he wouldn't what I would define as a big body, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Big bodies are like Don Terry Poe or you know, obviously Aaron Donald or something like that. Do you think Frank Clark is like he has no care whatsoever? Why does that feel like it's carrying on to the rest of the line now? He's back, and it's got worse, and now the defense it seems to be suffering. Matter of fact, even forget all. I want to talk about the linebacking core. What is going on with our linebacking core, man?
They don't want to put anything into it. Like when you have Willie Gay as literally your best linebacker.
Yeah.
Like he's the best linebacker that they have, and it's not even close. Anthony Hitchens can't play in coverage. Anthony Hitchens is too hesitant in the run game. He can't find the football. Like in run plays, he can't locate it. He doesn't seem to be able to find it. Motion and play action confuse him. He's too hesitant. Willie Gay, at least if you're going to be a little confused, he's going to go out there and he's just going to run and he's going to make plays because of his pure effort. Anthony Hitchens can't necessarily do that, but he just seems to want to just hesitate. If you're playing linebacker hesitant, you're going to get blown by. You're going to miss block tackles. You're going to miss everything. And as much as we can put that on his shoulders, because he's in the third year in this defense, he looked faster, everything prior to this season. And now we're having this issue with him just not being able to do anything at all. And every once in a while, he has a few plays where he sees it. If he's not seeing it, he's not making a play. Right. And then you have Nick Bolton, who's a rookie. Okay. He's made some plays every now and then. He's got some instincts.
Yeah, we're not expecting like magic out of him like right now. I know.
No, and you shouldn't. And to be fair, you drafted a guy who is almost Anthony Hitchens light in terms of he's the same kind of player. Yeah. He's not a side-to-side coverage guy who can make a bunch of plays with running this way and then running that way. He can run downhill. Okay. He can run downhill. And I think you see that when he makes those plays, he scrapes underneath the lineman, he makes a play in the backfield on Josh Allen in that game. Right. He's not going to be a guy who you can get moving one way and he can make a play the opposite side because it's a play action and the ball's going the other way. He just can't move that way. He also can't move backward.
Right.
So when you address the position at linebacker with a second round pick, a guy who's essentially going to be a 2-down player in the NFL, I don't think it doesn't make sense.
And that definitely doesn't make sense to me. So I want to ask a serious question, and maybe I'm going too far with this. So let me know if I am, my dude. Do you think Veach just doesn't have an eye for defense? Because like when he drafts offensively, it's not that bad. He picks up some pretty decent players, but his track record defensively, though, not that great. Like we're talking about him like starting as GM all the way till now. If you really look at it, his defensive draft picks haven't really panned out, if not yet at all. So do you think that's one of the issues? Or our defense just wasn't ready this year? Or
well, I think financially they've decided to make some investment into Frank Clark because they saw something. When they brought him over, they said that they saw him could being a top 5 player in the NFL. That's just never been the case. No. And so I'm trying to figure out what they're looking at. Okay. I know that Frank Clark's physical ability when he was in the Seattle fit what Spagnuolo wanted. And for the first year, I think that when his cap hit was matching his production. It wasn't terrible. His cap hit wasn't bad. And as it's gotten bigger, his production's gone down. So I think for me, what's matched up is that Spags had a little bit of a thing with bigger defensive linemen, maybe not as athletic, not as fast. That's not the NFL anymore.
Right.
Now you have to have a match of size, athleticism, and speed to be able to play the defensive end position, and strength specifically, because you have to be able to do all that stuff while being able to corner at high levels and not just get pushed up field when you try a speed rush on the outside. Like Frank Clark, he just gets pushed up field. So I think that he's actually drafted some pretty good players. Rashad Fenton, and most of them are late guys. Fenton,
and I know, and I forgot about Snead. Snead is pretty
like
decent.
That's some of the things they've found some value, which has saved a lot of his drafts. And that's especially with guys like Tershawn Wharton, who was an undrafted guy you brought in as a rotational starting type caliber player. So I think that you can kind of you're trying to figure out if the communication between Brett Veach and Steve Spagnuolo, if there's a disconnect in the way that they see defenses being played. I don't have, like I said, I've got no idea like the conversations that go behind closed doors. I would love to know what Brett Veach values in defensive players and what Spags values in defensive players nowadays, because that would make a huge world of difference. But just watching linebacker play in the NFL and just watching Anthony Hitchens over the last couple of years. Last year he was fine. He was fine. Like he wasn't perfect, but it was his best year in that defense, and it was.
Right.
And then you draft a linebacker who's actually lighter than he is. He's smaller than he is, and he can't get off blocks worse than Anthony Hitchens can.
I didn't understand that either.
That's for me. There's a disconnect with how they view the linebacker position. Willie Gay made a lot of sense. Fast, strong, athletic, made a ton of sense. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay taking a second round linebacker with that kind of potential upside. Like, it's perfect. But there's a couple linebackers in this last class, specifically a guy like Pete Warner, who I liked, who's making an impact. He was out of Ohio State making an impact that is rotating in Dallas, and he's a athletic type of guy. He's probably not the best run defender, but again, they drafted him to play pass coverage. But if you're going to be taking out, a high second round draft pick in Bolton off of the, basically just off the field in some passing situations, that is not how you need to be drafting assets that high. And Juan Thornhill, second round pick, is having to earn his playing spots. Like, this is, so for me, there's a disconnect between Brett Veach and Steve Spagnuolo, and they got to figure that out in order, if they're going to continue going forward, to have success. Because right now, it seems like what they've tried to draft doesn't fit with what they're trying to do on the field, and especially with the way that the NFL is played now. Like Josh Allen, these big athletic running quarterbacks are becoming more common, and if you have linebackers that can't see the ball, can't find the ball,
and they can't catch them,
and they can't move athletically, they're going to be taken advantage of
every time. And that right there worries me, seeing that we're already one of the worst run defenses in there, probably the worst one now after this game. Where do we go, like, defensively? Where do we go from here? Like, how do we build back? Because last year, like you said, our defense wasn't great, but it was like right in the middle of the NFL. And that's all you really need to win, especially with our offense. That's all you really need to win a Super Bowl. But they have majorly declined, and it's only been like an off season, basically, and a few weeks. Where do we go from? How do we fix this problem? This is not like they'll get better in a few weeks issue. This is a problem.
Yeah, it's a right now the run defense is and I think that you can take some of, they played the Browns, they played the Ravens, they played some teams that run the ball a little bit better, but the Bills know that the way to win a football game is through the air. And they came into Arrowhead and they were like, okay, we're going to run a real fullback. We're going to take a couple two tight end sets, which are things that they did not do against the Chiefs last year, because they know that this run defense is terrible. And they knew that dime was coming. They were just like waiting for it all night. And like, all right. But again, if you cut this game in half, second half, it was a totally different game. There were some good things on defense. Spags was moving the linebackers around a lot. They were coming up to the line of scrimmage. They were run blitzing. They were timing a little bit better. They were attacking aggressively, even if they didn't necessarily know where the ball was. Like, that's some of the biggest things is, and Willie Gay he's not the difference maker. Like, he's not going to make this defense great. Not even going to make it like average, but he attacks so well. He sheds blocks. He's physical in the run game. And that's something I saw a lot of. As soon as he got in the field and started making some plays, the Bills said, okay, we're going to run away from wherever he is. They ran away from him on purpose, because he doesn't get moved by offensive linemen like Bolton, like Sorensen, and like Hitchens do if they get squared up. Willie can shed and kind of extend his arms and make plays. And even when he was running away from him, he was chasing the ball carrier down. The effort level from guys like him, for me, it permeated the defense a little bit. You saw Derek Nottie, Tershawn Wharton, Damone Harris getting some effort and starting to shed some of those doubles, even singles, because in the first half they were just getting singled up and getting blown out of the path. So I think his impact, as much as it is physically, he gives a little bit of energy to the defense, and that's something they didn't play with a whole lot in this year. But again, it's one player can't save your defense as much as he's going to impact them and make some plays. At the end of the day, if you're playing guys like Dan Sorensen, at 100% of the snaps, you're going to have busted, blown coverages like a lot. So for me, it's just as easy as it sounds, to say effort is huge, because that can just having some effort up front, stop getting moved so easily. It's easy for me on a gaming chair. Like I understand, like, but again, you saw it at the second half. Like they just made some effort. I really do think that playing more 3 linebackers with Willie Gay and Hitchens and Bolton, because Willie can actually cover. So really you're playing with 2 guys and a coverage player who can also play the run. So it's almost like nickel, kind of, because Willie is so athletic. You can do some things differently. You can move the linebackers up. You can have Nick Bolton and Anthony Hitchens coming at in gaps and trying to get in the backfield, because even if you're not, like, say you're getting, blocked up front, you're taking up a guy who could be on a double somewhere else. And that makes everything for other field defenders like Matthew, like Thornhill, and even to Sorensen to some extent, having it moved a little bit and having some of the flow get a little bit easier for them. So it's I'm telling you right now, it's frustrating to watch, but I know that there are some things to take out of that second half. And if they can play with the effort level that they showed, then I have some confidence that they'll at least be slightly less than average. That's all I can say right now, because that's how it's so bad.
Okay. Last defensive question, because I want to talk about the offense.
Yeah.
But we can't trade Sorensen. He's not worth snot. Obviously, no. He's not worth snot. But do you think, in your opinion, because you have really good one, is it time to maybe trade Chris and Clark?
What are you getting for 2 guys that have plus $20 million cap hits, who right now aren't playing? Chris is hurt, and Frank Clark's technically still hurt. You're not getting anything for him, so you can't even get like draft capital from these guys, because no one wants to take on a player who's injured and has a $20 million cap hit. I mean, Chris, you probably could, because he's still one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. But I'm keeping Chris Jones. Like, I'm just saying, Chris Jones. Just play him at defensive tackle. Stop experiment.
Yeah, what was that shit about putting him in the outside? That's not where he's. That's literally not. He has been there his whole career. But you want to put him
career.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. His own NFL career. All of a sudden, you want to put him in the outside like that was going to make a difference because he's so lean. Some people just have a natural talent to do things, man. Taking somebody out of their element.
The problem with Chris Jones is he's at this stage, he's not flexible. Okay. To play defensive end, you have to have some level of bend and flexion in your hips and your ankles to get around a corner. And every tackle in the NFL knows he can't corner. So they don't have to worry about him coming up. If they try to speed rush on the outside, they're just going to take him around because he can't corner it. And that's the biggest issue with him playing defensive end. He's not magically just going to grow like flexible hips. It's not going to be, Mr. Fantastic out here being able to corner. Like, that's just not going to happen. And so the reality is that this team, this coaching staff thought that he could just overpower tackles and just cause havoc. They also thought that Jerron Reed would help draw doubles and give him more one-on-ones. Right now, Jerron Reed's not doing shit to help anybody. And Frank Clark,
my hand hurts. Like, come on, man. That bullshit.
I'm just a little I was somebody who was very optimistic about the front four of this Chiefs defense coming into the season, hoping essentially a contract year out of Frank Clark, adding Jerron Reed, who played well with in Seattle, and moving Chris Jones to the outside and seeing one-on-ones where he can use
thinking that it would help his body type.
You would think. And it ain't done anything. It's not done anything.
My God, all this time I straight up I forgot about Reed. Just
because everyone's forgotten about Reed because he's not on the field, and if he is, he's not doing anything.
Yeah, he's not doing. It's a defense. It's just it hurts. It hurts every time when you see somebody ready to run the ball, or they go for it on fourth down against us, man. 2 years ago, they wouldn't dare do stupid. Now they like, you know what? It's 4th and 2. Let's give it a go. Fuck them.
Well, they also have to because of Patrick Mahomes. Like teams have started to realize that they
but at least
can't
we
give
had
the
the
ball
defensive,
back.
like you
Yeah,
said, at least we had the defensive effort to go, oh, 4th and 2, you're not making this.
Yeah.
Because in the Super Bowl, we stopped them with on the goal line.
Yeah.
So it's like now that changed in a matter of months. It's mind-boggling, man. It's seriously mind-boggling.
It's frustrating.
Now, talking about the offense, because defense is, we both know this, but that offense has not been clicking. This is not the 2019-2020 offense that we're so accustomed to. They're off. Mahomes is off, and he rarely is. I mean, they're dropping wide open passes. Like it seems like to me, and maybe you see something, but it seems like to me like they're playing around. They're doing these shuffle passes and these abracadabra. No, it's in the other guy's hand. No, it's in my mom's hand, and oops and gotcha type stuff. But why aren't we playing smash mouth football? Why can't we be that team? Is there something wrong?
Well, I think that week 3 and 4, they played smash mouth and they were able to move the ball pretty well.
Yes.
And then, against the Chargers, they just had 4 turnovers. Like you can't overcome that kind of stuff. And they were, the national media hyped up this whole thing. Like the Chargers actually did something well. The Chargers did move the ball up and down the field and turn the ball over 4 times. Like, okay, like that doesn't happen very often. But again, you have 2 games this year where you turn the ball over 4 times. You have 11 total turnovers that's
only 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Yeah, 5 weeks, you have 11 turnovers. And the last 3 years, they've turned the ball over 16 times, 15 times, and 18 times. You're already way over half in the first 5 weeks of the season.
Right.
Right now, it's the biggest issue. And against the Bills, they could not move that defensive line.
None.
That was a problem. I thought that this game would give them an opportunity to show that, look, this Bills defense, it's a little bit better, but we can still move you up front. And they couldn't do it. They were getting beat up front. And it's going to happen. They had, like I said, they had a good week against the Eagles front, which I thought was pretty good front too. They were playing well.
They
did some different things here, but they just they were unable to force the Bills to stop playing 2 high safeties. The only way you can do that is by showing that you can run the ball for 10 to 12 yards a clip almost at times. Like they weren't able to get those off, mostly because the Bills defense was playing very aggressively. They were playing very sound defense. They didn't blitz them 2 times. They were just rallying to the football. Like everybody, they were fast and they were able to not be moved by double teams up front. And they just made havoc. And Mahomes I know a lot of people say it was like his worst game. He made a lot of sound decisions, but when I looked, a lot of the times looked like the nose of the football was coming out already in a downward trajectory. I don't know what that has to do with his foot placement. It has to do with his hand. It has to do with the wind. I don't really know what was going on with that, but it looked like the ball was just, the nose of the football was already in a downward position. So that's one thing. Then you have drops, 2 interceptions off of drops, or not, 1 interception off drop, 1 off a tip pass that, Rousseau just made a good play. That one.
Because it was like in the what was that, the Ravens game where I want to say Fontaine was like just wide open.
Yeah.
And he,
no, I don't remember Fountain, but
he was just like literally wide open. Catch it, grass, touchdown, somehow drop. How long is that? To be more honest, how the take this offensive line to get this? Right now, we're supposed to have a top tier offensive line. 38 blocking. Orlando's getting beat almost every game. I know we're playing elite player. We're playing elite teams this first month. I get that. But with the experience most of those guys have, we should have been at a good position right now. And it doesn't seem like that. Are we still going to have to wait week 10, week 11 for them to get it together, or are we in trouble?
So I think they were gelling really well up until week 5. This Bills game, every single thing and its mother went wrong. Everything went wrong.
Murphy's Law was a thing in that field.
And the funny part was, like, they got the ball a couple times, especially after the defense made key stops. and they just kept shooting themselves in the foot with bad plays. And like I said, the inability to force the Bills to come out of that 2 high safeties was huge. There weren't many designed, crossing routes early in the game. They didn't do any of that. When the Chiefs got man coverage, they didn't take advantage of it. They were 2 of 6 for like 17 yards against man coverage. That's designing. I'm going to say something here that a lot of people aren't going to like. Right now, the Josh Allen, the Bills, Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, Justin Herbert, the Chargers, every single one of those teams is hungrier than this Chiefs team. Every single one of them. The Chiefs have been to the Super Bowl twice in the last 2 years. And right now, they're not playing hungry enough to get there. Last year, they got there by the skin of their teeth, in my opinion, with some of the games they played against the Falcons that they just didn't show up to games and things like that. And now it's seeping into the fact that their defense is a little bit worse. They have a brand new offensive line, and they're not able to stop the bleeding. And when you don't show up to play a Sunday night football game against the best team in the AFC, that's not you, that you think, and you don't show up to play, you're going to get your ass handed to you. And they did it on a silver platter. And like the offense issues, just they kept doing stupid stuff that drops. I know that weather probably played a little bit into it in the second half. I can understand that to some degree.
Yeah, some degree,
but again, like with weather, you got to run the ball a bit better. Up front, they have to take on this challenge.
Because that's how we beat the Bills last year. It was raining just like that.
Yeah, and they handed pounded them to the ground.
Didn't Hilaire run over for like 120 something yards?
126 yards. Like it was insane. And
why didn't we implement that this time? We're supposed to have better offensive linemen. Yeah. But we didn't execute that plan. What? Like what?
I can't even begin to tell you. It just feels like the Chiefs did not like 5-6 yards a carry, and they kind of got out of their rhythm, because the drive from the first touchdown they scored was exactly how you need to beat that Bills defense. That wasn't going to give them anything deep. They methodically drove down. They ran the ball well. They got it into the shorter intermediate parts of the field, and they scored because it was executed well. They didn't execute a single drive the rest of the night at all. They didn't execute at all. And that comes down to, mentally being in the moment. It comes down to, just having the wherewithal to know that you have to work for every single first down you're going to get against a defense that's not going to let you do what Mahomes wants to do. So he's pressing. He feels the pressure from a defense that's not giving him any help.
Yeah.
And all of it piled on top of his shoulders in a game where you have missteps, you have execution issues, and he can't push the ball down the field, which is what his calling card has been.
Yeah.
It all just kind of worked against him. And I think he beat himself up a bit in the game. The offensive line got beat up. He was moving around the pocket a lot because he didn't trust him. It was just, like I said, a culmination of bad play. And I do think that's going to get fixed going forward. That's one thing I'm very confident about.
I hope so, man. Because next week,
a Washington football team.
Yeah. And I really want to say this is maybe easy, but the way we've been playing, I mean, hell, even though we did that to the Eagles looked like they were in the game at least the first half.
Yep. Every time.
And they're the goddamn Eagles, man. They're from the NFC least. All right. Any of those teams should not give you a problem. But we let the Eagles bother because our defense is that bad. We let them bother us. Now, Washington, they have a defense. They got the guy I wanted to get in the draft, Vita V. That was the guy I wanted, but obviously he was number 5. You ain't go.
Vita V as a Buccaneer.
Vita V. Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Wrong team. But still, they still have a pretty solid defense. What do we do with this? Like, where are we going with? What should be the game plan here?
This is something, man. This is a different kind of scenario they haven't been in a long time. Ever since, I think Alex Smith type of team feel. Like
that's what it feels like. It feels like Alex is our quarterback, and every week is just flip of the coin. Whatever happens, that's how it happens.
They just got to get back to doing what they do. They have to see that teams are going to continuously play 2 deep safeties. They're going to force you to matriculate down the field. And when you can't execute a run game that gives defenses a little bit of a hesitation. Like they're just going to stay with what they're doing. So I know that a lot of people don't like Clyde. I get it, but he was one of the least of their problems against the Bills.
Yeah.
And I know that they haven't had like they haven't had over a 17-yard run all season.
Yeah.
And yet Clyde still racked up over, 100 plus yards in both games against the Chargers and the Eagles. And that's the kind of run game you still need. You're not going to always get those huge runs. And I know
you don't need them. I mean, Jerome Bettis literally made his career off going 3 or 4 yards a carry.
It's not going to be that kind of thing. And he's still an efficient runner. Like he was still efficient over 5 yards a carry. And as much as they won't want to admit it, the problem is that in those 2 games, he was getting 8, 9 yards a carry. That's the kind of efficiency that they need in a run game with this offensive line. It's not the 5 and 6. It's the 9 and 10 yard gains that you can continuously trot out there and get. And that's what's going to force defenses to stop playing too high safeties. So for me, at this juncture, without Clyde, Jerick McKinnon has to get more work than Darrell Williams. I believe he needs to touch the ball a little bit more. He needs to be involved more. Even I think that he still needed to with Clyde, just because he's a much better true change of pace back. A true Clyde to Darrell, there's almost no change except that Darrell's vision's worse. So it's just. And I like Darrell. I love Darrell. Like I
like his running style. I do
too. He's a bruiser. Like
that's what I'm saying. He'll run up on him, but you're right. His vision is
but
terrible.
when you're talking about a change of pace back, which is what you bring running backs off the bench to do,
right?
Jerick McKinnon offers you that change of pace. A guy who can take a one cut up the field and just kind of take 25 off. Plus or even out of the backfield. Like he's got more speed, which is, in my opinion, why they brought him in, to have the true dynamic of you have Clyde who's going to get those nice vision plays, manipulate guys and get those 10 to 15, and Jerick who can kind of hit a hole and go. Like that's the burst and the speed that he brings. So for me, they have to be able to take advantage of a Washington defense that hasn't been playing up to what we all thought it was going to. And on defense, Taylor Heineke, guys, he's a baller. I like Taylor Heineke a lot.
Really?
I think he plays the position just like you want to nowadays. He's not got the biggest arm in the world. He's not the fastest guy, but he makes smart decisions, and he's athletic enough to beat you in the run game. That's what they're going to try to take advantage of. Like Washington's going to come, or they're going to go there. They're going to try to run the ball with Antonio Gibson. I imagine a couple designs for Taylor Heineke, and then they're going to, use Terry McLaurin against this defense and really try to isolate him in positions to win. So, I mean, as much as I thought this game was going to be, not necessarily a cakewalk, because I thought the defense was better, but right now it looks like both teams are in positions where their defense is failing them in terms of what they thought was going to be, and their offense is. I would say that Washington's offense is better than I anticipated it being, just because Heineke gives them something more than Ryan Fitzpatrick does. But the Chiefs offense has to take this opportunity to reestablish itself as, we say reestablish itself as the top. It's still like one of the top 3 offenses in the NFL in terms of all the metrics and stuff. But you have to show everybody, like, this is last week had to have been a fluke. Like, you have to come out and play. You have to come out and play.
Especially losing at home, man. That really kind of set the message out there that, the Chiefs aren't what they used to be.
Yeah.
But could it be play calling as well? Do you think Reed is just being nonchalant about his play calling? Because a lot of times, like the 4th and 3 call, man, you sent everybody out. Why? Like, I know the intention was Kelsey, and most times you're correct. But like you said, with this defense, they were ready for us to go out. They were ready for us to do long balls all game. I don't understand. Was it like Mahomes going, no, I need to have it? Or was it Reed like, no, we need to keep this style of play and just run with it. It'll work. Because it didn't.
It's a little bit of both, I think. I think Mahomes was pressing like multiple times. I saw him just kind of ignore players open in the flat, not even look to him. So for me, the designs of the plays generally, especially longer plays, do have tendency breakers with these flat plays at some of the shorter routes, and he's just not looking at them. And also, Andy Reid didn't call, like I said, much of any crossing routes in the first half.
Right.
When you're given, or any cover two beaters, for example, they weren't running any smash routes, any corners. They weren't running four verticals very much, which is designed to beat cover two. They were playing some cover four as well. So all of that stuff, if you're playing cover four, you have to be able to attack the intermediate parts of the field, because you have typically, one linebacker kind of sitting in the middle. You have to flood that zone with crossers and make them decide who's they're going to take. And when you get man coverage, you have to attack it. And physically, they're kind of being beat up. They're not taking some of those pick plays. Like I saw one where Kelsey does a great job in man coverage, always selling his running his route and cutting up one of the linebackers and guarding Clyde out of the backfield. Dude had 15 yards in front of him on a pick route, and Mahomes just doesn't look his way. He goes the other way to, I think it was Demarcus Robinson, for like 5 yards. You gotta see this stuff, and you have to know that on the backside of your read, there's a pick play. You have to see it before, and that's something that I thought he'd be a little bit more able to do, and he hasn't done that. He hasn't taken that step. Whether that's I have to get the ball out quick because it's the offensive line, or I have to be better because of the defense. They have to figure that out quickly, and Mahomes has to start taking some of these, check downs. We hated Alex Smith for all the check downs, but right now we have a dynamic where he's like, I need to push the ball down the field all the time, and you have to find the middle. They have to find the middle.
All his highlights are deep balls, all of them. If you look at the top 25 passes or whatever, most of them are deep. But I'm just worried that he's going to be so concerned, and everybody's so worried about his stats, but our team is getting affected by him looking better. Because I did wrote this on Twitter, and maybe I said it a little bit off, but Mahomes can't be the star every game. He can be the best player out there because he is. He's great level, but I feel like he don't need to be the star every game. I feel like he needs to spread it out. It doesn't need to be on him all the time.
It's funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that, because the Bills did the exact same thing you're talking about right now on Sunday night. Josh Allen, last couple games that they've played against the Chiefs, they put a ton on his shoulders. Say, you have to go win us this football game.
Yeah.
It didn't work out. And we're seeing it right now with Mahomes. And Josh Allen had the benefit of the offensive staff just saying, look, we're going to design some runs for you. We're going to design more personnel looks so that the Chiefs defense aren't going to see. We're going to take advantage of the looks that we're given, and we're not going to make it all on you. I mean, he had shot plays with guys that were wide open, but did Josh Allen have to work in that game?
No,
he didn't have to do anything. He was able to just go out there and play football.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen Patrick Mahomes just go out there and play football. I mean, since the Eagles game.
Yeah.
And I know it was only 2 weeks ago, but again, that game it looked easy for Mahomes. It looked easy for the offense.
Was having fun. He looked
like he was having fun too. And that game against the Bills, I'm hoping that they wake up with this whole week, I hope it's been a bad taste in their mouth, because they did not look like they were having fun.
None.
In the slightest. And that comes back to, I know a lot of things went against them with the defense not playing and the execution woes, just not being on the same page. But sometimes you have to facilitate the execution, getting the ball out to the flat a little bit. And I think that he still tried to do that, especially in the second half. McCole was getting peppered a little bit there in the second half, which is a good thing. He led the team in receiving yards and things like that, which is getting.
I feel like Miko played a little bit better than what he's been playing this year. So
he's been this year. McCole has actually been a very good player, but he's been outstaged because they don't use him in the same way that they did the last couple of years with deep shots. They're not having him be the deep threat. And they're using him a little bit better. I tend to think that they're trying to set him up for later, but again, I also think they're also trying to make him more dynamic. Do you know what I mean? Because you can't just send him out there on a ton of just say, go take the safety with you. Do work underneath.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do too much, especially with a team who's playing too high. Send him deep. Just let him go. Take one of those safeties.
Even if it's for a distraction, send his ass deep. Who's not going to follow Miko Hardman out there?
Yeah. But I did like seeing them use him a little bit more in that game on routes that weren't just, screens or end arounds or your jet motion stuff like that. So that was at least nice to see. And I'm just hoping that some of the RPO stuff might go away a little bit, or might be more effective if they can get that run game going. Because that's, at the end of the day, I know that we don't like to run the ball very much, but you have to have a solid, decent, respectable run game in the NFL to make defenses respect. You have to.
So I don't know how much time I got left, so I'm gonna make sure I get all my questions out because you answered so many questions on Monday. Remember that, y'all. RGR football, Dan Harms, Mondays. Was that Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays? Don't you do Fridays?
We do videos Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But Ryan and I do the live Q&A on Monday. Then I have videos Tuesday, Wednesday. They do the Chief in the North on Thursday, and then whatever just comes through Friday and Saturday.
Right. But where do you see our record this year, man?
You know, the record is going to be interesting. I think that these 3 losses were definitely more than I anticipated. I thought 1-2 is possible. I thought 3-2 was possible with the way that the season started. Their schedule does start to ease out a little bit. You're still going to have to play the Chargers again. You have to play the Broncos twice. That defense is pretty good. I'm not really worried about the Raiders.
I don't know if the Raiders or the Broncos are legitly good, but they are 4-1 right now. So, or 3-1 right now. So
I think both are 3-2.
3-2.
I think they're both 3-2. Yeah. The Broncos just lost to the Steelers on
Sunday,
they just lost. So it's going to be this. I don't think right now they are not fit to win this division. The Chargers are much better.
It's their division win.
Yeah, I agree. So this whole season is going to be built and won or lost on the fact that if they don't get the defense showing an effort every single week, they're going to lose games that they shouldn't lose. Because as much as the offense is great, and it has been great this year, you're going to see games like the Bills where things don't always just click. And sometimes that does happen. And if your defense is giving up 30 plus points a game, you're not always going to win those games as much as you have Mahomes. So as of right now, because this is week 5 and we've seen a terrible team, I don't feel very confident saying it, but I think 11-6 is where I see right now.
That's not bad. That's
what you should probably expect if the team continues in this trajectory. Right. I think 3 more losses, possibly 4, depending on the rest of the teams showing up. But I think 11-6 is probably what I'm anticipating right now.
Playoffs?
Yeah, probably the last wild card. It's going to be the added wild card game is going to be interesting. I'm not sure.
It's a blessing for us now.
Yeah, but I think this could. I know this gets said all the time, and it's really stupid. It's so cliche. If they end up being a wild card team, that could be some added motivation going forward, not just this year, but in the future, because you can't just coast in the NFL. You can't, and they've been trying.
And it's a shame that we're starting out the season like this. It is a real shame. But I'd like to thank my boy Dan Harms, man. He is so busy. He has such a heavy schedule, you guys. So for him to come out here and answer these questions for me, I really like to, first of all, appreciate him. Remember, watch RGR Football. It is the #1 source of Chiefs information that you can pretty much get out here next to the Chiefs himself. That's my opinion. I truly believe that, because you guys work almost 5 to 6 days a week just to bring us the information.
Yeah, so I appreciate that so much. It really puts a lot of things into perspective when you have someone, you just hearing people talk about what Ryan and I do, everyone at RGR Football. It's really very appreciated. And thank you for having me on here to talk to everybody.
Yeah. So remember, if you like this video, why don't you give it a like and subscribe, and do me a big favor. Go to RGR Football right now and you like and subscribe to their channel. Because if you're a Chiefs fan and you don't subscribe to them, they're almost 20,000 in. You're insane. That's right. I'm saying 20,000 subscribers. Can you believe that? I'm still trying to reach 1,000, and these dudes are a few hundred away from 20,000. That is just an amazing feat that, fan bases like ours don't really take in. But if you just really see that 20, man, come on, y'all tripping out here. This is your boy Big Chief Shawn saying, please watch I will be at the live chat on Monday if y'all want to know where I'm going to be at, because their live chats on Monday are off the chain. You got anything to say, Dan, before we go?
I do. I hope you guys have a great week. It's going to be fun against Washington. I know it's been a long week, long, painful week, but just hang in there a little bit longer. You gotta let some things happen. I know adversity isn't fun to go through, but as Chiefs fans, y'all know it well. Like, y'all know adversity, you know it well. So just kind of
you've seen
go back to what you did to get through those weeks back back then, and just kind of let it unfold, because as long as the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, and as much as we hate saying this, they're going to be okay. At some point, they're going to get to be being okay. So just remember, it's a game. What was a one loss, and hopefully next week is not going to be the same, because it never is the same in the NFL. You guys have a great day, and make sure you subscribe to Shawn's channel. This dude's great. This is awesome. Like, we have so much fun. He's got so much fun, and this is just where you want to be. So make sure you're doing that.
So you're coming back, right, Dan? Are we going to do this again?
We will definitely do this again.
Yes. See, y'all heard that, so he can't lie now. He's stuck. That's a verbal contract, y'all. So
I'm okay with that.
All right, everybody. Y'all go home. Get ready. Sunday's close. So we out. Peace.